Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
opening announcements. First of all, this is actually quite sad. Condolences to Alderman Paul Greenfield on the death of his mother. Paul, we're so sorry to hear that, and our sympathies go from everyone. And condolences to Elizabeth Rainey, our director, who is just at the side, on the passing of your mother as well, Elizabeth. Losing someone's never easy, and I think a mother out of the house is the bond of the family. So our deepest regrets to you both. Agenda item 1. Just before I go on to agenda item 1, I would just like to make a wee statement. This is actually from myself. So, councillors, officers, members of the public, and all those following this evening's meeting, thank you for joining us. Before we move on to formal business of council, I wish to acknowledge the deeply concerning events that have taken place in recent weeks, including acts of racist violence, intimidation, and targeting of ethnic minority communities. There is no place in our society for racism, hatred, or violence. Everyone, regardless of their race, faith, background, or nationality, has a right to feel safe and respected within the community. It is particularly disappointing that the launch event of the Special Olympics in Armagh City Hotel had to be cancelled following violent disturbances, with police advising participants not to travel. On an occasion that should have been a celebration of inclusion, friendship and achievement, was unfortunately affected by fear and division. The Council's message must be clear. Our district is one that values diversity, respects differences, and stands firmly against all forms of hatred and intimidation. As we carry out our business this evening, I asked all members to be mindful of the words that we use and the tone we adopt. The decisions within this chamber have an impact beyond these walls, and at times such as these, our leadership and our example matter greatly. I wish to acknowledge and thank all those within our communities, voluntary organisation, public services and statutory agencies who have worked tirelessly to support those affected, provided reassurance and promote calm solidarity. So I just want everybody just to be mindful with words tonight. Thank you. So, agenda item 1. We have an apology has been received from Alderman Moutray. And Councillor Kate Evans. Do we have any more apologies on the floor? Alderman Paul Barry.
Councillor Keith Ratcliffe.
Thank you. Councillor Hockian.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Ashley Mallon, and we have Councillor O'Keefe and Councillor Hockey online. Thank you.
Alderman Baxter.
Alderman Tinsley.
Thank you.
Possibly online, but
She is
she's going to be
actually
online.
online.
Get an occasion.
Get it online. Okay. The councillors online tonight, I would advise that they're on is Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Hockey, Alderman Tinsley and Councillor O'Keefe. Council minutes we will go to. Agenda item 2.1. Can I have a proposer and seconder that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 26th of May 2026 be taken as read and approved as a correct record? Proposed. Proposed by Councillor O'Hare. Seconded. Have we got a seconder? Alderman Barry beat you to it. Sorry, Alderman Burns. Sorry. Are you looking in? Sorry, Alderman.
Sorry, thank you, Lord Mayor, and I will give you an easy night tonight. All the best in your year. C157/2026 under matters arising. Last month, I just sought legal advice in relation to the HR/Preliminary Investigation Committee minutes on the 16th, 22nd, and the 24th of April. Now, Kate McCusker had passed on to Niamh Shannon, but in my humble opinion, it was just about a process. It wasn't about going into the details of any confidential business. It was about us as members being asked to adopt and agree committee meetings of any sort, whether it's economic development or whatever it may be, HR. And you had passed me over to Niamh, but in my humble opinion, it should have been you as our council legal representative advising me of this position. And I have sought to receive this permission from you and from others and have yet to receive this particular information. Now, Niamh at that meeting had mentioned that previous advices from the KSC were around this matter, but that was on the 23rd of March. The particular committees, preliminary committees, had not met, so how would I have known as a member to know that we were being asked to adopt and approve committee meetings of whatever sort when an agenda had come, when the time of the meeting had come, those in attendance had come, but we are not being informed of the outcome of the meeting? And I have requested that on the 29th of May, but yet on the 22nd of June I have yet to receive that response, and I'm just asking Lord Mayor through Kate, has any legal response come? Because there could be serious
Sorry, Alderman Barry. We're actually going to take that in confidential, if you don't mind.
I do mind, yes, I do. I haven't asked anything that should be confidential.
Anything to do with HR at the minute is...
What's standing order? I think it's standing order.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute, please. Okay, we're just going to bring Kate in. Very good.
Yes, thanks for your question, Alderman Barry, and apologies for the delay in the response. Oh,
Yes,
apologies.
sorry. Apologies.
Okay, thank you, Lord Mayor. I take it there was no standing order for this. You know, I've just asked a question with no confidential information required. Who advised you to make that ruling? Because I listened to Kate and to that response, but I've waited for nearly a month for something of a very important nature that cost this council thousands of pounds unknown to us as members. So, Kate, I'm happy to listen to you. Thank you.
We're just going to bring in Councillor Catherine Nelson.
Lord Mayor, it is just to remind.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Nelson. Can you just click on again?
It is just to remind the member, as he's well aware, that you're in charge of the meeting, you're in control of the meeting, and your decision's final. And the member's well aware of that.
Just going to bring in Kate.
Thanks, Alderman Barry, and apologies for the delay. You'll appreciate that certain parts of different committees had been dealt with by different legal advisors for various reasons. So I think your initial query had actually gone to Niamh Shannon because there were different legal advisors dealing with those particular committees that I'm not involved in. Just to advise you about committees and minutes where you haven't been in attendance. So a new procedure that's been through the governance process. Reports were presented in April and May, amending standing orders that committees that exercise delegated authority, the minutes from those committees will now go back to those committees for approval for accuracy, and they will no longer come to full council. So in relation to your previous query about how do you approve minutes that you weren't at the committee meeting, that should alleviate some of your concerns, because those minutes will now go back to those committees for approval, and that takes effect from this month. If there's any other queries in relation to specific HR committees, then I think that would be dealt with in confidential. I would recommend they're dealt with in confidential session, and I think that council who actually is advising on those committees is in attendance this evening remotely. Thank you.
I'll just bring in Alderman Barry again.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thanks to Kate, but it doesn't answer the question. But we'll wait till we get into confidential, and maybe there'll be a more detailed response, because I think we're all democratically elected 41 councillors, and every minute that has come to this meeting in the past, we see it, even if it's in confidential business, of what's been agreed, discussed, and the outcome. But these particular ones we don't, and I think that puts us at great risk. But I'll wait to confidential.
I'll just bring in Councillor Hawkins.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, on the tone of this conversation.
Sorry. Yep, no, you're all right. Sorry, Councillor
The
Hawkins.
tone of this conversation hasn't been great, to be fair. There was something shouted by Alderman Barry across this chamber. The phrase was, "cover it up." This is in public session, and I am demanding that Alderman Barry withdraw that now, or we will follow it up with the Ombudsman. That is a disgusting thing to say in public session in this chamber. So I am now asking him to withdraw that comment that he made.
Before we go any further, can we just think of the opening announcement that I had said at the start, to be respectful, because the viewers watching this is going to think it totally unacceptable. I'll bring in Alderman Barry.
I'm sure the viewers will find it totally unacceptable that we are being asked as members to agree something that others have decided upon that we as other members don't know. That could lead to anything, massive financial implications. So if we're not being told in confidential business, even in relation to minutes of meetings, of what was agreed.
Sorry, Alderman Barry. We're just going to move on to confidential and take that up when we go into confidential. So the council... Yeah. Can we just double check? Councillor Hurd, did you propose the minutes, the council minutes? Alderman Burns, are you happy to second? Yes? All agreed? Okay. We're moving on to agenda 2.2. Can we have a proposer and seconder for the minutes of the Council AGM held on the 1st of June to be taken as read and approved as correct? Councillor Duffy, Councillor McConville-Walker, seconded. Are we all happy to agree those decisions contained within the council minutes and happy to move on? Okay. Declarations of interest. Can we agree to take these as the meeting progresses, or does anyone want to raise something at this stage? No, all good? Okay. Committee minutes for 4.1. Can I have a proposer and seconder that the minutes for Environmental Services Committee meeting held on the 2nd of June be taken as read and approved as the correct record? Councillor Jude Mullen, are you happy to propose? Vice Chair Alderman Kennedy, are you happy to second? Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Flaherty, you're looking in?
Yes, if I may, Lord Mayor, and welcome to the Chair yourself. I just want to again refer to ES 71 2026. It'll probably be of no surprise to anybody because this is just a running issue at the minute still, even after having attended a committee that I don't sit on. Hashtag declaration of interests already, as everybody knows. I do want to make a remark, if I may, to thank, it's regarding Kernan Cemetery, of course, to thank the staff that are there and plugging on, to thank the director and the head of service, I don't think she's here this evening, and Charlene Stoops herself for different meetings that I've had with this. I haven't got any reply yet, I don't know if anybody else has, about some of the estates issues that are floating about down around there still and have been highlighted in these minutes and in the committees as we've gone forward. And referring to what was asked in said committee, I'm assuming that the workshop that's coming up at the end of the month will address, maybe the interim chief can just clear this up for me, that is what's going to address the HR, workforce, recruitment, etc., issues that I have raised as a more, because what I want, as I've made it quite clear now for a number of months, I want to see a maintenance plan, a sustainability plan for these facilities in council, not just quick fixes. Quick fixes will be lovely, don't get me wrong, but we need much more than that. We need a proper sustainability plan.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. I'm just going to bring in Charlene.
Okay, thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Yes, we have a members' workshop planned for next Monday evening, and that is to look at staffing, recruitment, sickness and absenteeism across departments, recognising there are specific differences depending on which service or team we're looking at, and it's not the same broad brush approach right across the whole of the council. So hopefully that will provide further detail at that point in time. Thank you.
I'm just going to bring in Elizabeth Rainey.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Councillor Flaherty, just in relation to the maintenance, there was action minutes from the last meeting where that was raised, and myself and Mark Halliday hope to bring something back to September ES committee on that. I did mention at Governance Committee just around planned maintenance and thank the members for agreeing that we would now be moving towards a planned maintenance schedule, which is something the council didn't have. And you're right, Councillor Flaherty, we do not want to be in a position where we're relying on members raising maintenance issues or painting issues. We now need to be working towards a planned maintenance schedule of painting, of repairs, rather than always that reactive that we've been dealing with. The quick fix is not working. So, as a members, thank you for your approval to do a planned maintenance audit. We hope to have that done over the next number of months. And then with some budget realignment, we will hope then to move forward and have the correct way of dealing with maintenance of our assets. Thank you.
You okay with that? I'd just like to bring in Councillor Jude Mallon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just checking there, Alderman Kennedy wasn't at that meeting to second it. Can you still second it? Minutes? Were you removed? Oh, sorry. My apologies. Sorry.
So it's been proposed and seconded by Councillor Mallon and Alderman Kennedy. Are we all in agreement to adopt the recommendations contained within Environmental Services Committee minutes? Happy to move on? Agenda item 4.2. Can I have a proposer and seconder that the minutes of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee held on the 3rd of June 2026 be taken as read and approved as a correct record? Alderman Moutry has put in an apology for tonight. Can we... Councillor Kevin Savage has proposed and Councillor John O'Kane.
And I'm happy to second her.
Councillor Baxter, or Alderman Baxter, apologies. I will just bring you in now.
Thank you. It's just a matter arising, Lord Mayor, and I just noticed through all the reports, whenever a planning application goes out, it goes through the consultees and the statutory consultees, and it's something now, before I say anything, this isn't a reflection on staff here, anything like that in environmental health. But whenever we put a planning application out to statutory consultees, there's a 21-day period where they have to respond. Now, I do know some of them, NAA for example, don't always stick to those 21 days, and quite a few of them don't, but there's a legislative requirement, is my understanding, but I'm happy to be corrected on it, that there's 21 days for them to come back. Environmental health is another consultee, but they're not a statutory consultee, so weren't guided by that legislation. So, as a council, we don't put any time stipulation on environmental health to come back to a planning application. So I was just wondering, is that something we should be looking at? What would the implications of that be? And why aren't we putting a time on environmental health when all these other consultees have to have a time on them? Is it a staffing issue, or what is it? Now, I'm not saying that it happens and they're not coming back within 21 days, but I'm just mindful that, you know, we stand on our hind legs as elected representatives when we're dealing with planning applications. I'm talking to these consultees and why he's not coming back within 21 days yet. Our own department, there's nothing on them. And I think that's something we should probably look at. I'm not proposing that we do it tonight, but certainly look at it or bring a paper back. Or I'm happy to be guided by planners or Elizabeth or whoever, but I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Baxter. I'll just bring in Elizabeth.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Alderman Baxter, we do have KPIs for environmental health. They have a certain number of responses to return back to the planning department within a quarter. Last year we put an additional half environmental health officer resource into environmental health for that exact reason, to provide that support. Happy to have a look at that again to see, are we lagging behind with regard to making those responses back. It's my understanding at this stage that we're not, and having just put through the review of last year environmental health business plans, we are meeting that target that was set, returning the numbers of consultations back to the planners. Very mindful, yes, we put our own house in order, and that's where that dedicated resource was put into the environmental health department last year. Thank you.
Alderman Baxter, you looking back in? Yep.
Yeah, and I appreciate the response, and it was no reflection of actually what is happening. I've probably had a couple in this last few months where I've had to sort of chase up to see where they were. But a KPI is one thing, that's our own, you know, performance indicator, whatever. But is it a case we should have something, you know what, let's have it the same as the statutory consultation, let's have a 21-day, and let's get it back within 21 days or 28 days or whatever it is. I think it would formalise it up. It would certainly make it easier for me as an elected representative to say, that I can shout at the statute agencies more. And how can I do that if our own house, well, we don't have any time, you know. I'm not saying that that's happening. That's, yeah, I appreciate that we are meeting the, you know, the KPIs, but I think it's maybe time we should maybe look at formalising it. So we'll be happy to revisit that if possible.
Yes, I'll just bring Elizabeth in.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to bring that back, Alderman Baxter, either through the Plan and Regulatory Services Committee or through Environmental Services Committee that Environmental Health feed into. So happy to take that back, look at the number of responses we have and what our timeframes are for responding back on those. Probably suitable to bring it back mid-year review in October when we've had the 6 months of this period. So happy to take that back. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, so we're on to agenda. Sorry, Alderman Baxter, are you okay now with that? Yeah. Okay. So are we all agreed to adopt the recommendations contained within the Planning and Regulatory Committee minutes? Yeah. Okay. Can I have a proposer and seconder that the minutes of the HR Committee meeting held on the 4th of June 2026 be taken as read and approved as a correct record? Councillor Hawkey, are you happy to propose? Yeah. Vice Chair Alderman Barnes, are you happy? Yes. Thank you. And we will bring in Alderman Barry.
Thank you, Madam Lord Mayor. I just wanted noted that I can't approve. Thank you.
Okay, noted, Alderman Barry. So we are sorry. Sorry, we're just going to take a couple of minutes. We're just going, we need a proposer and seconder to adjourn for 5 minutes. Proposed by Councillor Hurr, second by Councillor Duffy. Sarah Duffy, sorry. About standing orders.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. Just a point of clarity, I think earlier in the meeting we referred to standing orders when going into confidential session. It's of course the Local Government Act, Schedule 6, which is on the front of every report that officers present as to when information is exempt. At that point earlier in the meeting, it was potentially going to be providing legal advice, which is exempt information under Schedule 6, and that's why it was proposed that we were perhaps going to go into confidential session, but that ended up not being necessary. So it was just to clarify that it's not under standing orders, exempt information. It's under Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act 2014. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. We are going to go on a vote on the basis that Alderman Berry cannot approve the committee minutes for HR. So, yeah, I'm just going. Sorry, I'm just going to bring in Councillor Hockin.
Thank you, Mayor. Could we have a recorded vote for what it's worth?
Yeah. Yes, that's fine, Councillor Hockin. We're just setting up the vote. So this is the vote. Sorry, it's going to, it's a, it's, we're just going to change the word. And anybody that has voted, sorry. Yeah, it's just going to be done again. Okay, the vote's now open. This is to approve the minutes or no to not. Has everybody voted? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay, everyone, it was a recorded vote, so we had 33 yes, 2 noes and 1 abstain. The individual voting results were Alderman McElrath, yes. These are all yeses, by the way. Councillor Alexander, Councillor Armstrong, Alderman Barr, Alderman Baxter, Alderman Burdens, Councillor Copeland, myself, Councillor Mary O'Dowd, Councillor Devine, Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Paul Duffy, Councillor Sarah Duffy, Councillor Joy Ferguson, Alderman Greenfield, Councillor Herr, Councillor Hockey, Councillor Hockian, Councillor Johnson, Alderman Kennedy, Councillor Lavery, Councillor Mackle, Councillor Jude Mallon, Councillor McCartan, Councillor McLennan, Councillor McCampbell Walker, Councillor Moutry, Councillor Mulholland, Councillor Nelson, Councillor O'Kane, Alderman Rankin, Councillor Savage, Councillor Kyle Savage, and Councillor Wilson. No was Alderman Barry and Councillor Flaherty, and abstain was Councillor O'Hanlon. Okay. So that is the minutes agreed then for HR, yes. Okay, so we are moving on to agenda item 4.4. Can we have a proposer and seconder that the minutes of the Community and Wellbeing Committee meeting held on the 8th of June 2026 be taken as read and approved as a correct record? Councillor Alexander, are you happy to propose? Yes. Councillor Ratcliffe isn't here, so can we have someone that was on the Community and Wellbeing Committee? Councillor Herr, you're happy to second? Are we all agreed to adopt the recommendation contained within the Community and Wellbeing Committee meeting? Yeah. Okay. We are just going to bring in Ruth Allen, will provide with a wee update on the following matter of business plans 2025-26, year-end progress reports. Ruth, we can't hear you. Are you on mute?
I think is that better now? Thank you, Lord Mayor. Members, this is a wee update as requested by Alderman Tinsley in relation to the community engagement bus. We were asked to bring back a report about opportunities for the community space to be incorporated in a list of council events over the summer months. Now, just to clarify, we have had further conversations with Alderman Tinsley and noted the logistical challenges we have with the bus. This is a sizable vehicle which requires a driver experienced in driving large vehicles, and that has unfortunately restricted the degree to which the vehicle can be used across the community. We are reliant on colleagues within environmental services who support this, and whilst they do a good job in supporting on this, they obviously are prioritised to their own work. We do have a number of events where we'll be seeking to use the bus over the summer, but alongside that, I want to assure that we are focused on creating play opportunities for children and young people in collaboration with Parks, Sports Development, PCSP, the Good Relations team, and indeed through our Community Grants programme. There are a number of events planned for Play Week. There are significant MUGA programmes planned through Sports Development, and there are diversionary programmes scheduled through PCSP, Sports Development and Good Relations, and a wide range of other programmes across the summer. We will be seeking to expand that where we can and are looking to identify additional resources for this. So I hope that addresses the query that was raised.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm just going to bring in Councillor Flaherty.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor, and just when you had Ruth on the call there, because obviously I'm not on that committee, I was looking back. That was a very interesting question, actually, because we all know where that bus is parked up. We all know where it is. You can see it with your eyes. And without again declaring a conflict of interest, I probably know somebody who could probably drive it if they're really, really stuck. But another point I had just when I say when the head of department's on, over the last number of weeks, and you referred to it at the start of the meeting, and it's been drawn to my attention also at another working group and also by talking to other groups in the area that even our own officers in community development have not received their letter of offer for their funding for a lot of our schemes that are coming ahead in the summer. Community and voluntary groups out there are facing the same problem. Can the head of department advise if there has been any movement on that particular issue for both ourselves and council and also for the groups out there that are doing this work? Because it's entirely unacceptable that we're being asked to do all these things and not getting it in quick time to be able to fulfil it.
Sorry, Councillor Flaherty. Is there anywhere in the minutes that... Oh, sorry.
CW 68 2026. Raise it under that.
Just going to bring in.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty, for raising this. Yes, we are still waiting letter of offer from for a number of our programmes, and it is something that we are engaging with government departments on that. Department for Communities has provided us some funding, and we for some of the programmes, particularly our community advice and social supermarket services, but there are a number of programmes that are still awaiting the letter of offer. We are proceeding with our Good Relations programme, Working at Risk.
Okay. So working on to agenda item 4.5. Can I have a proposer and Can I have a proposer and seconder that the minutes for the Economic Development and Regeneration Committee meeting held on the 9th of June 2026 be taken as read and approved as a correct record? Councillor Kyle Savage, I'll just bring you in.
Happy to propose, Madam Lord Mayor.
Councillor O'Hanlon, are you happy to second? Sorry. Are you looking to speak? Yep. I'm just going to bring in Alderman Lavelle McElrath.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just refer to EDR 59/2026 business support update, and one of the reports that are appended to that under 4.2 is page 29 of the minute, and it's just a brief comment about the Food Heartland, and having visited some of the local shows in Balmoral, and I know you were there as well, Lord Mayor, and many of the members here were at our local shows. It was just maybe a wee point about, and it's raised with me, about how we market the Food Heartland when we're out there. A number of people at the shows asking me what exactly Food Heartland was and so on. So we don't carry a huge logo on the Food Heartland stuff. So it maybe there's a lot of really good work goes into this, by the way, and many members know that. Our staff put a huge effort into it, and it's just really a very small point that maybe we could brand us a little bit better. So that's just a wee brief point on that one. The other point is to do with Balmoral, and the number of people that have raised with me the fact that we now don't have a stand at Balmoral. 120,000 visitors, huge audience, and I felt even I was there, and I felt even our staff were kind of walking around trying to find a wee home, whereas a lot of the other councils have their stand there. We have a huge number of exhibitors in the food hall in particular, and I think it's something that I would like to push back to EDR committee because there is a spend associated with that. So it's just something maybe that we could relook at, given the vast audience, even from a community development point of view, Lord Mayor, where we have huge good news stories to tell, and I think we could maybe do that at Balmoral. So it's just a suggestion. I don't know what other members think, but certainly I would like maybe EDR to have a wee look at that again and see how we go. Thanks, Lord Mayor.
Sorry, we're just going to bring in Paul Tamati.
Thanks, Chair. I'm conscious there's probably a couple other members' lights on there, and I'm assuming it's probably in relation to the same matter that that was just raised. So I'm happy to maybe come back once all members have spoken, if that's okay, Chair.
Yes, that's fine. I'll just bring in Councillor McLaren.
Yes, Lord Mayor, thank you for bringing me in. And I suppose I just come in just to do a couple of things. Number one is to entirely agree with my colleague, our Deputy Lord Mayor, in terms of what he has said a few moments ago. You know, sort of within this borough, agri-food, farming and everything that is related to it plays an absolutely vital role within the economy of our borough. And I think you are absolutely correct, Deputy Lord Mayor. And I suppose at the very end of my year as Economic Development Chair, I had talked briefly to Paul, our Director, about what I thought was the need for a little bit more coordination around the whole agri-food work that we as a council do, and certainly I would like included in the paper that maybe the Director's bringing back, to have a look at this council establishing an agri-rural affairs committee, because I think it's so important to our economy. We're doing so much across the piece in this that it needs to be more coordinated than just almost an add-on or a bolt-on to economic development. So I would like that to be looked at. Paul, I certainly spoke with you a few weeks ago on this, so if that could be added, Lord Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to bring in Alderman Barry.
Thank you, Madam Lord Mayor, and I would like to agree with the Deputy Lord Mayor, Michael Rath, in relation to this, and also Councillor McClellan's comments. So I'm happy to second that we bring it back to this relevant committee to discuss it. He's quite right in saying I attended the Balmoral show, and when one looked at the small, medium and large businesses that were there representing from this city and borough, I think there would be a better coordinated approach through the food heartland. We did really gather momentum a number of years ago, and I guess this is where the Deputy Lord Mayor is coming from. There seems to be maybe just not the same emphasis that we maybe should be putting on it when we are going out to sell our businesses. So, you know, we think of all of the businesses right across that line, and we just don't want big businesses in it. We want that mixture, Madam Lord Mayor. So I would agree 100% with that, and I think it would be good that if we do have a good conversation in relation to it, because the rural community makes up a large percentage of this city and borough, and I think it would be good to see that, because you know, we have promoted it well in the past, and we have promoted the products in the past, even through hampers and all of that. But I think more could be done here, because we need to promote all those businesses, whether it's through hampers or whether it's through Balmoral Show.
Thank you, Alderman Barry. Can I just make one comment? One thing that, one of the traders at the artisan market did mention to me was we class it as the food heartland. It should be, in their eyes, just the heartland, because there's other traders and other fields out there that aren't dealing with food. They've crafts, they've creams, they've everything, so they feel a wee bit neglected, to say the least. So maybe we should look at that. But I'm just going to bring in Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And yes, just to follow up on what the Deputy Lord Mayor has said, and I'm glad that other councillors have witnessed this as well. I know my Vice Chair, Councillor Thomas O'Hanlon, and I have identified this at the very start of our year as Chair and Vice Chair, and we have raised it with the Director and the staff about what we feel needs to happen within that. And that is something that will be an ongoing process, and we'll be working tirelessly with that. I spent this morning talking to some of the local producers, some of the local Food Heartland members, and I have spent time with them over this last number of weeks at the various shows. As to Balmoral Show, the initial costs, the hidden costs for some of our food producers going to that is eye-watering in what they have to do. So I think there is help and support that we can do, but I think what we need to do is sit down with our Director and our Vice Chair and Chair or whatever, and meet these food producers and listen to what their needs are and how we can help and support them as much as we possibly can. And I think that's the key. I think we need to be engaging with them face to face and seeing what support is out there for us, you know, that we can help and promote them. At the end of the day, they're the ones out there front facing, promoting ABC Council, and we need to support them for that. Thank you, Madam Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. I'm just going to bring in Paul.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for members' comments in relation to Food Heartland, all which have taken on board. Members will note that as part of the race estimates process for this year, we approved a budget within economic development that looked at, I suppose, a business development officer that was bespokely, to focus on rural, and that we haven't got through that appointment yet, but we hope to be successful in appointing that soon, which will help sort of pull through, I suppose, a bit of a reinvigoration, if you like, of what we see in terms of the Food Heartland. We have also in the process of realigning our Food Heartland assistant post to sit over underneath the Economic Development and Infrastructure Manager, which aligns then to Town Centre and the markets, etc. So we think it has a better synergy sitting on that side of the house, for want of a better word, in economic development. So we're in the process of realigning that. In terms of Balmoral, I think we do note that members made a decision to, I suppose, step back from that and through the efficiencies process in terms of the costs associated with taking a stand at the likes of Balmoral. And I do note that we haven't had a stand at Balmoral this year, and we probably had a smaller stand the year before, but just because of the costs, same issues, I suppose, that some member, the producer, having, the costs associated with Balmoral is quite significant. However, happy to sit down, discuss that with members and potentially agree on what we might have to put back in the budget to realign that through the rates estimates process for next year, if that's something members would be keen to see. So, but we're happy to bring a report back to Economic Development Committee and potentially look at a workshop to discuss a range of things in relation to Food Heartland and agriculture.
Thank you, Paul. So I'm just going to go over this. We are all agreed to adopt the recommendation contained within the Economic Development and Regeneration Committee minutes. Happy to move on? Okay. Can I have a proposer and seconder that the minutes of the Governance, Resource and Strategy Committee meeting held on the 10th of June 2026 be taken as read and approved as a correct record. Alderman Rankin, happy to propose. And Councillor Nelson, are you happy to second? Okay. Are we all agreed to adopt the recommendations contained within the Governance, Resource and Strategy Committee minutes? Happy to move on. Agenda item 5, the Chief Executive's report. There is 2 items for decision. 5.1, we are going to go to Kate. We'll present this report.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Good evening, members. This is an item 4 decision. Some members may recall that this matter was considered by the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee on the 10th of June. The report advises that correspondence has been received from the Minister for Communities, Mr Gordon Lyons, inviting the Council to consider participating in a civic initiative to mark the 250th anniversary of the United States Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July through the illumination of a civic building. The Minister highlighted the historic and ongoing links between Northern Ireland and the United States and invited councils to consider lighting a prominent civic building as part of the anniversary commemorations. Members should note that Council previously agreed in February 24 to cease routine building light-ups from the 1st of April 24, with any exceptions requiring approval in accordance with the arrangements agreed by Council at that time. Following discussion at the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee, members agreed that the matter should be deferred pending further discussion at Party Leaders Forum before returning to full Council for consideration. That discussion has since taken place, and the report before members this evening is the same report that was previously considered by the committee earlier this month. Members, the recommendation is that members are invited to consider the Minister's invitation and determine whether Council wishes to participate in the initiative by illuminating a civic building on the 4th of July 26. Thank you.
Alderman Baxter, I'll just bring you in.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And I was somewhat surprised that this caused as much debate as it did. And there's some very unfortunate comments, particularly from Councillor Lavery, who just didn't want to do it at all because of the President of America and called him, and what had sort of a sectarian undertone, the orange man in the White House, which was a very unfortunate comment given the discussion we've just had around the economic development papers. I think members maybe need reminded, particularly our colleagues over there in the Alliance benches, that in this borough alone, and this is a report from Council, there was £457 million of sales to the USA. They're our biggest inward investor outside of the UK and Ireland. Quite a few Americans living in the borough. So I think just to go against this for the very fact that you don't like the politics of the current president, I think is an awful insult to the 360 or whatever it is Americans in the USA, and such a fantastic country, and the links we have with America down the years should be celebrated. And I think just to lump it all in, we're not doing it because we don't like Donald Trump. I think it's churlish in the extreme. And I think when we look at the economic links we have here, you just have to look at Game of Thrones, you have to look at life sciences and the money going back and forward to America. Given we're the first port of call in Europe from the States, I think it was very unfortunate, the comments, and I think any American listening to the meeting or reading that would be completely insulted by the comments that were made. So, look, we've had discussions over the policy and whatever. This is a one-off. It's 250 years, something that should be celebrated, absolutely. And I have no issue in proposing that we go ahead with a recommendation from the Minister this evening.
I'm just going to bring in Councillor Armstrong.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor, and I wasn't sitting on this committee when it came up, but I did read through the minutes and I was disappointed with the comments that were made throughout the debate. And just, I think we need to take a step back and realise this isn't about one person in the White House, and we need to understand this is more about the celebration of what Northern Ireland contributed to the US. It isn't about what's happening now with Donald Trump and how people feel about Donald Trump. Just to give a bit of context, The role of Scots-Irish in America can be traced back as far to the Declaration of Independence. The political leadership came from here. Charles Thompson was the Secretary of the Continental Conference. John Dunlop printed copies of the Declaration of Independence. 17 to 20, maybe more, presidents can trace back their lineage to our shores. The current VP can apparently link his lineage back to Coke in County Tyrone. And as Alderman Baxter says, it's the #1 foreign direct investment into Northern Ireland is coming from the United States. So instead of just thinking about how this plays out for the current president of the United States, why don't we use this as a chance to celebrate our achievements in the world stage and what we've contributed to society? The people that came from this borough have contributed immensely within the United States. So I'm more than happy to second Alderman Baxter's proposal on this. Thank you.
Okay, just want to check with Alderman Baxter. So to clarify, you're happy enough for the building to be lit up? Yes? Because it's not a recommendation, it's just, okay. Just need it clarified. Yourself, Councillor Armstrong? Okay. So we're just going to bring in Councillor Hockian.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Naively, I was hoping you would bring me in first because I was going to say we've discussed this twice in 2 forums and we didn't need to go through this all again, but here we are in the chamber going through it yet again. Just for clarity, we wouldn't be supporting the lighting up of the building, and a very eloquent speech from Councillor Armstrong there, but it's a bit wasted because the point for us is that we turned down charities. We made a commitment that we would have a change in policy, and that policy applied to charities. I think this is a bit of a backdoor move by the Minister, and look, the DUP are entitled to have their position on this, but I think it would be slightly rude to the charities to say we're going to make an exception here, but by the way, we will continue to say no to you. So on that basis, our party won't be supporting this.
Okay, Councillor Hockian. I'll just bring in now Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and given your remarks at the start of this meeting, I'm going to be short and sweet. To the disappointment. So to start off, as been mentioned before, if charities ask for them buildings to be lit up for their good cause, and then there were many good causes recognised by the lit-ups, they're told no. They're unanimously told no, they're not even discussed. So it's deeply unfair. We shouldn't have made that decision in the first place, but it's deeply unfair to treat charities different to different requests just because they come in from ministers. And outline again them, but disappointment that given the amount of poverty we have in the borough, the communities minister can't even get the poverty strategy through, and he takes the time to prioritise this stuff. I could say more, but you know what, we've spoken about it plenty, and third time's the charm maybe, but we'll be voting no. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just bring in Councillor O'Hanlon.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm not going to get involved in the debate around who's the occupant of what office. To me, this is back to policy. And it's back to process. Council made a decision back in 2024, and it has tied its hands somewhat. And you'll also see that there are other things that have gone on. For example, we brought through policies around bins, barriers and toilets. We've brought through other different types of policies where we have left there absolutely no wriggle room and no room for anything to be open for interpretation. To me, this policy is clear. It doesn't allow for this, and for that reason, I'll be voting against it.
I'll just bring in Alderman Baxter.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And maybe if the American colours were a different colour, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. But I see this going for a vote, so I want to call for a recorded vote, please.
Right, there has been a proposer and seconder, but I don't think everybody's happy with that. So I think we will be heading to a vote, and it will be a recorded vote. Vote, no vote. Okay, everyone, the vote now is open. Oh, she's not by mistake. Okay, has everybody voted? Because we're about to close the vote. Okay, everyone. So we have 16 yeses, 20 noes, and no abstains. So yes is Alderman McElrath, Councillor Armstrong, Alderman Barr, Alderman Baxter, Alderman Barry, Alderman Burns, Councillor Copeland, Alderman Greenfield, Councillor Herr, Alderman Kennedy, Councillor McLennan, Councillor Moutry, Councillor Mulholland, Alderman Rankin, Councillor Savage and Councillor Wilson. The noes are Councillor Alexander, myself, Councillor O'Dowd, Councillor Devine, Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Paul Duffy, Councillor Sarah Duffy, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Hockey, Councillor Hockeyan, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Lavery, Councillor Mackle, Councillor Jude Mallon, Councillor McCartan, Councillor McCampbell-Walker, Councillor Nelson, Councillor O'Hanlon, Councillor O'Kane and Councillor Kevin Savage. And that is it. It has, the building will not be lit up. That is, sorry. So the proposal now has been defeated. The building won't be lit up. So we are now going to 5.2, and that's the damaged wheelie bin. Lisa will present this report.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and good evening, members. This report has been brought forward following a request from the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee to consider the issue of replacement wheel bins during periods of civil unrest. A report was presented and discussed with party leaders, and this report reflects their proposed direction. The purpose of the report was to present the options to members in relation to whether council should provide replacement bins free of charge, whether being damaged or destroyed in circumstances, and to outline the potential financial and operational implications of each approach. As set out in the report, there is no single consistent approach across other councils in Northern Ireland. Some councils retain their standard charging arrangements, while others make provision for free of charge or defined circumstances with supported evidence such as a PSNI crime reference number. Options were presented to party leaders. Option 1 was to retain the current charging arrangements for all replacement bins, including where loss or damage occurs during periods of unrest. Option 2 was to provide all replacement bins free of charge during periods of unrest. And option 3 was to provide replacement bins only where specified eligibility criteria were met, for example, with the evidence or a PSNI crime number. This option seeks to balance support for affected residents with some control still over cost expenditure. However, it would be more resource intensive to administer and would require clear criteria and an agreed process, for example, the PSNI crime reference number. The potential costs were also outlined within the report. So following discussions with party leaders, it is recommended that members consider and approve the following approach. Council cover the costs for the bins already purchased as a result of the recent unrest, which is approximately 12 bins at a cost of £421. An interim arrangement be introduced which would require householders to have a PSNI crime reference number to qualify for a wheeled bin free of charge. This would not be linked to a defined period of civil unrest. And officers develop a robust policy for replacement bins being free of charge with further detail and costings. This will then be presented to members in committee for further discussion and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. We have a few lights on. Alderman Baxter, I'll just bring you in.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And I brought this up under AOB at Governance and Policy and Resources. So you brought this actually quite quickly to committee. I want to thank you, Lisa, for all the work that you've done on it. And as you have outlined, I'm happy to propose what's in front of us tonight with a good discussion on party group leaders as well. I think whilst it's not the council's fault by any means that residents and businesses had their bins burnt during that period, that unfortunate period where that happened. It's certainly not the fault of the businesses or the residents either. But I think it's a small token that we can do as elected representatives to replace this bins, because we do get a few calls about it. So, look, it's not going to certainly bankrupt the council by any means, and I think it's a small gesture. I think in times when people have had businesses damaged and windows broken, then to be landed with a bill for a bin on top of that, I think slightly smacks of unfairness to me. And I think as a council, our pockets are deep enough to be able to replace a few bins, and you've outlined the cost there the last time, 420 quid. So even if that ran into a couple of grand a year, it's certainly something we could probably stand by. So look, I really appreciate all the work that you've done on it, and I appreciate from an officer perspective, it will be more intensive in terms of staff. I know you're already probably under pressure, as all departments are in council. So we appreciate what you've done and what you've brought forward this evening. I'm very happy just to propose what's in front of us. Thank you.
Okay, I will just bring in Councillor O'Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, I know when we met with the interim chief executive and officers on Friday, the issue was discussed, and my suggestion was to take that period of civic unrest out of the original proposal, and the reason being, if you had an area maybe blighted with antisocial behaviour or something like that, this would make an allowance there as well. But it does that there's that a crime reference number. So look, to me this is a pragmatic approach. I'm happy to second. But what I would say is given the point we just discussed there a few minutes back, I think the importance of a good, well thought out policy and clearly defined is ever more important. Thank you. Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. I'll just bring in Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, the group leaders were all agreed on this approach. It's very tough for those who have been involved in these attacks. You know, their houses threatened, property damaged, to then be landed with a bill from council for 1, 2 or even 3 new bins. It is just unfair and it shouldn't be happening. We should be supporting, you know, victims of crime. And as Councillor Hanlon mentioned, you know, various ASB would fall under this in due course. It's important that we get a strong policy, but I think we should all support this direction we're going on here tonight, and hopefully those who have had to pay these bins, you know, I think the number 12 was mentioned in the report, get that reimbursed, and hopefully it'll give them some comfort.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. I totally agree with everything that's been said. I think it's a disgrace that people are out there doing such acts. So we have a proposal from Alderman Baxter and seconded by Councillor O'Hanlon. Do we all agree on that? Yes? Okay. Sorry, 5.3 is a report for members. It's for noting. Is everybody happy to note? Agenda item 6, schedule of correspondence. We are just going to take them all, if that's okay. Or is members happy to note items 6.2 to 6.6? Sorry. Yep. Sorry, I missed 6.1. So we will backtrack. So 6.1. Councillor O'Hanlon, sorry. Councillor Lavery, I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yeah, just on 6.1 is the correspondence from DIP regarding the clinics. I find those clinics to be very useful indeed, and I've got a lot of positive results out of them. And indeed, it's great when you're able to sit down with DFI staff every 3 to 4 months and talk through issues. You're able to talk about issues they're having and be able to get a lot more out of face-to-face interaction than maybe you would in the portal. I do get a bit frustrated when they say, you know, it's not speeding up issues, so we're going to stop them. I would like DFI to say, right, what are you going to do instead? Because I am aware they're under pressure, but to direct you to, you know, the portal, emails, and offering meetings. You know yourself, Lord Mayor, half the time or more the portal's not updated. You email them, they direct you back to the portal, and half the time it's not updated. And you ask them for a meeting, and they direct you to the portal, which half the time is not updated. So it's a bit frustration because I can see I've asked my fair share, probably more than some at these clinics, and I've gotten a lot of very positive results out of them. I do find them very well worthy. So I wouldn't want them to be ended without an alternative being put in place. Are DFI going to meet with elected reps? You know, whenever they ask them, I thought these clinics would be more handy where they can meet with a bunch of councillors at the same time. I know when some of my other colleagues aren't able to attend, I ask questions on their behalf and we get a lot of positive results. So I find these clinics can be quite positive because it can be difficult to get answers out of DFI given their huge workloads, which we're all aware of the situation with the roads. So my query is, like, do we ask DFI then what are they proposing as an alternative? Because if we just go back to where we were before, that's how we ended up with the clinics in the first place, because we didn't accept that standard, and nor did our constituents. So I wouldn't be prepared to go back to what the status quo before was, because that was terrible. So that's my penny's worth. I want to maybe hear what other reps have said, but for me the clinics have been very, very worthwhile, I have to say.
Okay, Councillor Lavery, and I doubtful meant you had asked too many questions. So that's proposal that we write back for an alternative to DFI, yes?
Yeah, apologies, I didn't really propose, but I wouldn't want to move away from the clinics until something else is put in place. But I'm happy to hear what other members have think. But that's my own view on the direction. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Lavery. We will just bring in Councillor Hockian.
Thank you, Mayor, and I actually agree fully with what Councillor Lavery's just said. To be fair, there was a mixed view within our group. Some people find it a useful resource, some people don't. I would imagine, going by the numbers that Cindy Noble has presented, that's probably across the chamber. Some people find it useful, some don't. I happen to find it quite useful. I think that face-to-face interaction has been worthwhile. And to elaborate slightly on Councillor Lavery's point, prior to that, we gave up quite a lot of time going over issues, some every hole in the hedge type parochial issues with DFA. I don't want to go back to that. And quite frankly, this idea of an alternative needs to be presented by Cindy Noble, because otherwise that's what we're going back to. And if I have to do that and our group has to do it, then we will do it, because we need to speak up on behalf of these issues, on behalf of constituents, should I say. So I would second the proposal that unless there is a viable alternative to what's being presented here, which is just take that resource away completely, well, I wouldn't be supporting it. I don't think it's the right thing for DFA or for us to actually do.
I totally agree. So do with the Councillor Hockian. I'm just going to bring in Alderman Barr.
Thank you very much, Madam Lord Mayor. Yeah, I'm actually in the opposite end of the spectrum than you guys. I think I proposed it at the very start, but whenever it actually came to the business and sitting down and talking through it with them, you got the answer a month later, which wasn't good if there's a dangerous road that needs urgent attention. Because recently I went to them and I asked for a site meeting on an extremely dangerous piece of road outside Rathfriend. The vehicles were driving down the middle, and it was a month later I actually got a response, and then another month later to say, oh, we might be going out and doing an investigation. So yeah, I'm on the opposite end, but I do believe there is a merit in them coming in and having a face-to-face, and I do believe there is a merit on having an alternative if they're going to pull this away from us. So I would like to see what the alternative is. So thank you.
So we're just going to confirm, Councillor Lavery, you are looking at an alternative if they're planning on pulling this all together? Yes? Sorry, I'll just bring you in.
Yeah, and Alderman Haughey, or Councillor Haughey and Alderman Barr making points exactly. Sometimes you need those wee urgent updates, and you can get a lot from a chat rather than having to wait 4 weeks for an email. So that's like changing the clinics to like online at lunchtime to suit their staff every 3 months or whatever they want to arrange it. I think we can work with them to get a solution, but just pulling them and seeing what happens isn't an option. So that's my proposal that we're writing and trying to find a viable alternative. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for all that? Yes? Councillor Hockian, what are you going to second it? Okay. Councillor O'Hanlon will just bring you in.
Yeah, Lord Mayor, just on a separate issue, I see there's a letter there from Post Office. They were just checking. Royal Mail was supposed to be with us tonight, according to the letter dated that
The letter was late.
their letter must have been late, but they still haven't shown up. Can we find out what they told us in March that they'd be here on the 22nd of June?
Councillor O'Hanlon, we're just going to finish with the 6.1, if you don't mind, before jumping to 6.6. The Post don't like to go that quick. So we're all in agreement that we're going to send a letter. Councillor Lavery, you have proposed. Councillor Hockian, you have seconded. To DFI, yes? Hopefully it won't get lost in the post. We are now going to move on to 6.6 that Councillor O'Hanlon had brought up. Do you want to put your wee light on there again?
Yes, Lord Mayor, just but I'd raised it in February, and we had a response back in the May meeting to say that or in March to say they'd be here on the 22nd of June. Now, can we find out, did they get lost, a bit like the hundreds of thousands of letters?
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. I have been advised that that date then didn't suit them any longer, so we are working with them to get an alternative date. Okay.
Okay, members, everybody happy there? Well, as happy as can be. So we're happy to note then 6.2 to 6.6. Yep. So agenda item 7, schedule of documents requiring corporate seal. Are we happy to take them all together? Yeah. Can I have a proposer and seconder to agree to sign and seal all these legal documents? Proposer Alderman Burns, seconder Councillor Kevin Savage. Okay, so we're just going to go into committee. Can I have a proposer and seconder to go into committee for consideration of the confidential items of business proposed by Councillor Hare, seconded by Councillor Armstrong? Members and listeners to the audio feed, in accordance with the Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public audio feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting has restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the audio feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of the meeting can proceed? Thank you, Ruth. Can I have a proposer and seconder to adopt the decisions taken in committee? Proposed by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Lavery. And agenda 10, we have just one item on AOB. I'll just bring in Alderman Burns.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for allowing me this any other business. Lord Mayor, I'm getting an increased number of phone calls with regards to grass. Grass is growing round the borough, and as you drive about yourself, you see it. Grass verges, maybe the grass is a foot high. We seem to have lost our civic pride in this borough, where the grass is allowed to grow. We had a great festival on Saturday in Buskfest and a church fete. There was a lot of people coming into town. The first thing that meets them is long grass and verges. It's terrible looking. And then when we go to cut it, we don't lift it anymore. We used to lift the grass. We don't lift it anymore. So it's strewn all over the place. It gathers in round the curbs and it helps to grow weeds because it becomes like a fertiliser. Now, we even had at the top of Reddy Street, we put in new flagpoles so we could put on the Buskfest advertisements. And even there's a foot deep of grass growing around those. It just seems to be we have lost our way. Now, if we don't have the staff, surely we can look at outside contractors to come in, not to take over, but to complement what we have, so that the grass is cut on a regular basis and possibly collect it and lift it like we used to do, because it's just strewn all over the place. A foot of grass cut and just lying there is a real eyesore. So it is. And we have to restore our civic pride and start cutting the grass on a more regular basis. Should we have to get, I don't know what the problem is, why we don't have enough staff, but if we could supplement our staff with an outside contractor to help us. And it's the same everywhere. Coming through Guildford tonight, grass verges, again a foot high. It's terrible looking. We need to restore civic pride in this borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Burns. We'll say I would be on the flip side for biodiversity and things like that, but I do understand with sightlines and that and dangerous roads and all the rest, but that's my own personal thing. Alderman Barr, I'll just bring you in.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. And just to concur with my colleague, and if that was a proposal, I can second it, or even for a report to be brought to committee. 3 weeks ago, I sent through to our Enviro Services email to complain about the grass needing cut. Now, I give the benefit of the doubt of a week, and then obviously we had the trouble that came with it there a couple of weeks ago. But it wasn't until the end of last week that it eventually got cut 3 weeks later. Now, whenever in that correspondence that I was having with officers, I was told that the grass was cut. I was sending back pictures saying, what, this grass? And the grass was over my knees. Likewise, with bins being emptied, I'm sending through for the dog fouling bins to be emptied, and I'm being told these bins are being emptied. They were emptied 2-3 days ago. What, this bin, with all the rubbish sitting underneath it? You know, so there's definitely a communication breakdown somewhere along the lines, and we need to get to the bottom of that ASAP, because as Ian or Alderman Burns said, you know, where's our civic pride here? You know, we've people coming to the borough or to our towns, to our borough, and they're seeing all this. They're seeing the grass over their knees, even with grass verges in the middle of the roads and the carriageway, they're up the sightlines. It's extremely dangerous, And I'm not going to laugh because that's the FA, but within our own constructions, we need to get the communication better, going up and down, as well as picking up our emails a lot quicker and getting it resolved. And hopefully we can maybe see a report coming through quite quickly. I know we're going into recess now, but I'd like to see that report coming through so that we can have those options, so that doesn't become an issue every single summertime when the grass starts growing. and it is an issue, and it shouldn't be an issue, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barr. We have a few lights on now. Can I bring in Councillor O'Hanlon, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And look, I know we're meeting on Monday night to talk about staff and resources and workforce planning and stuff. But we raised these issues at last month's council meeting. Grass, that the areas that I raised still hasn't been cut. In fact, there's areas in Katy that has, the last time it was cut was September last year. There's a picnic area on the Armagh Katy Road where, and I understand your issue around biodiversity, but if you have a picnic table, you don't let the grass and grow 3 foot high round it so that the bees and stuff can come whenever you're trying to. I understand, but what I'm saying is it shows there needs to be a real rethink of how we manage the grass and the grassed areas. It is unsightly. If you're coming in from Armagh to Portadown in the mornings, and I'm sure there's many officers drive past it, but that nice big roundabout, the weeds are bursting through the curbs. It's horrible looking, you know, and just that, and we can't blame DFI. These are issues that is council responsibility, and we can't get somebody to go out and sweep and tidy up. And last but no means least, I attended an event this morning in the Palace along with you, Lord Mayor. We had to dodge the potholes on the way up the avenue. So, and that's not something that we can do, but surely it's something we can get a contractor in to fix the potholes. It's all right talking, giving DFI a kicking about the condition of our roads, but whenever it's actually within council, the potholes, just for anybody going to just be careful on those going up the Palace Avenue. Thanks.
I'm just going to bring Charlene in.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon, and for the comments that we have had there. I just want to confirm that the Head of Service is in the process of preparing a report around grass cutting. Obviously, there is an element of third-party grass cutting as well as our own council-owned grass that needs to be included in all of that. And I also understand that we have had a contractor out to look at the potholes as you go into the Palace as well. And so that report will be coming back to members as well. Thank you.
Are you happy enough there, Councillor O'Hanlon? I shouldn't even have said that.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Charlene. But I suppose it's just like the road service potholes. The yellow paint's starting to wear off them on the way up to the avenue. So, and look, I'm mindful that we don't meet then until it's monthly. Those sorts of things, surely that's within the officer scheme of delegation. We do not need a report back to tell us how much it's going to cost to repair a couple of potholes on the way up the avenue. We're not talking about a full-scale resurfacing scheme. You know, if we could get them repaired in the initial stages, and then if there's something else we can take from there. Thank you.
Okay, I can just bring in Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yeah, look, there is obviously quite a lot of grass growing at the minute, and some of it's on council land, some of it's not. I know in ES we've talked about maintenance squads and things like that, and I know there's an agreement there with DFI to do a bit of sort of workload sharing. I don't know if any of that sort of stuff is covered under the sort of grass cutting scheme, but some of this probably would fall more into like road sweeping and things like that. I just wonder, is there a conversation needs to be had with DFI just around which bits your responsibility, which bits our responsibility? And again, if there is something, Charlene, thank you for your update, by the way, if there is something that's being sort of, discussed as a plan sort of going forward, I know there is a sort of street sweeping schedule. Could we maybe see a bit of a grass cutting schedule as well? It would be quite nice. That could be shared with members. Thank you.
Yes, just to confirm, we do have all of our maps and everything, which shows what we're responsible for. So any third-party lands that we cut, we know where all that is, and we've been through a bit of a process, and that was brought to members in the past, and we can share those again if that's helpful. And just as you say, the intention would be that we get to the point of having grass cutting scheduled, because there are timelines around what it is that we expect in different areas. We do have that, but I think further detail is required for that for members, and that's exactly what Claire is starting to look at. So we will bring that back in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. I'll just bring in Councillor Herr.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. I'll be short and sweet. And I've got phone calls as well, but it's not our council grass is the problem. It's our DFI footpaths and roads is crazy. I sent an email on the 29th of May asking when the spraying would start, and they told me it would be they're starting in the end of May, and it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks, and then a further 10 or 14 days. That's just not good enough. You know, the place is a mess, absolute mess, and the phone calls I'm getting, and everybody thinks the council's problem. It's not the council's problem, it's DFI roads, and it needs done right away. Thank you very much.
I don't think there's many would disagree with you there, Councillor Herr. I'll just bring in Councillor McLennan.
Yes, Lord Mayor, unlike the previous speaker, I will be brief. But Lord Mayor, on your comment about the biodiversity, as I understand it, a number of years ago, this council identified a number of grassed areas throughout the borough that were to be cut and left with the aim of aiding biodiversity. And there was the recommendation, or there was the hope, that those areas would be marked with appropriate signage, that they were cut and left and so on. Now, I know of one area within my own DEA on Moygannon Road, just outside of Donaghcloney, where it was identified, but unfortunately there hasn't been signage arrived yet. So, Charlene, you're bringing a report. I would ask that would be given consideration as well. Thanks for your indulgence, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McLennan. There would also be what I would like to ask, if Oxford Island, there was a part of it that was a beautiful meadow at one stage, and I don't know what happened because the flowers just disappeared and it was never maintained. But I just bring in Councillor Mudry.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Going back to Alderman Burns, the person who actually brought the AOB, I just want to reiterate something he actually said. He did mention outside agencies, and when it comes to grass, when it comes to even things like cemeteries, that's something that I think we need to give real consideration to. My own experience as a councillor in Portadown, I've raised this before, I believe it was last summer, with regard to Dramilly Green in Corkgreen and Redmondville. There's a football pitch there on council maintained grass. Last year, it was the case that children had to go out and actually mow that grass. It was the same again this year. Nothing's changed, unfortunately, and that's what the ratepayer is seeing. I think that's unacceptable, to be perfectly honest. My own experience is when I go to the council, I can't get a timeline for when grass will be cut. I was able to go to the housing executive.
Sorry, Councillor Mudry, can we have a wee bit of order whenever somebody's talking, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My own experience as a councillor is whenever I go to the council, I can't get a timeline for when grass cutting takes place in estates on council maintained grass. I can get that from the housing executive, and I have got that recently. So that's my concern. I really think when it comes to grass and things like that, if we're not able to get the staff to do it, we have to look at outside agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mudry. So we're just are you going to go away now? And yep. Excuse me. We'll wait to come out of session. A report's going to be brought then. Is there any other business? Nope. Okay. It is not. It's 9 near enough 10 to 10, so everybody's safe home. Okay, and you can talk again.